Hi.
Hello, it is Thursday and welcome to Rural Community Solutions, where we help you design family-friendly, youth-centered places. My name's Kim Spillers.
And I'm Frank Spillers, and today we're going to be talking about a process that we use to bring in other communities around your community. In other words, if you look at the communities in your county, if you look at them in the region, how well do you really get along? How well do you really know each other? So stay tuned. We'll be right back. You know, we do that 30-second countdown sometimes just so you can go get a pen, paper, because you will want to know what we say. You want to write them down, or you want to go get somebody else to say, oh, hey, listen, they're going to talk to you after what I've been saying for years. Somebody else is going to finally say it for us. So that's kind of why we do that. And you know that at 11:30 a.m. Central Time, every Monday through Friday, we're going to be saying something that's going to resonate with your community.
We talk about rural communities, for rural communities, give you tips and approaches and all kinds of field-tested things that we have done in the course of our 30-some years of experience in economic development.
Okay, I'll take over right there.
Excuse
See,
me.
I just choke her up. She stands right by me and she chokes up. I'm going to mute her. Okay,
so
there.
Live TV here.
Yeah, now she won't choke and cough into your ear here. Okay.
I thought I was ready for that. I just got so excited.
Sorry about that, podcast community.
Yes, sorry about that. but here we are. We're back and good. We're
going to be talking about the marginalized community. You know, you have heard that word marginalized for a couple of months now. It's in the news. It's about groups that don't feel a part. It's about groups that really don't feel like their voice is being heard. And if you look around your county, or even where your workforce comes from, you will find marginalized communities. And those communities that don't feel like they have a voice, those communities that don't feel like they get the attention that they deserve. So what does marginalized mean? And marginalized really means that it is this: to relegate to an unimportant or powerless position within a society or group. So that's the one we're going off of because it's Merriam-Webster's. But to relegate to an unimportant or powerless position. Now, I'm gonna pick on a county seat town for a minute because this is where it is. The county seat has, of course, it's the seat of county government. It also most likely is the seat or where your economic development organization lies. And if it is a county economic development organization, wherever the office is, that's the county. Most likely, that's the county seat. And that, since it's the largest community within the county, more often than not, okay, there are a few exceptions. I'm kind of talking in generalizations here, but more often than not, it's the largest town. So that's where the main focus usually is. Now, it takes an effort and it takes intentionality to include other communities in your economic development process. And more often than not, again, those communities without the professional in them are more hungry for development and will do more in their community than your community that you reside in as an economic developer. So again, I'm going to go back to this. It's to relegate to an unimportant or powerless position within a society or group. So your group of communities, you have intentionally decided what communities are more important than others. Whether it's conscious or not, that's what your group has done. Now let's take that word relegate. Okay, that word relegate then, as we dive deeper down, means to send into exile or to banish. Or in number two, it's to assign. All right, you have assigned it a position, to assign to a place of insignificance or oblivion, right? Out of sight, out of mind. You don't work with it on a daily basis, so it really doesn't come to mind for you. So it takes an intention to bring those communities into the fold to where they feel like, that's the important part, they feel like they are having attention put upon them by your economic development group.
Well, why does this matter? Well, it matters because people live in all kinds of communities. In small towns, often people have to travel, they have to commute. Some people commute many miles, 30, 40, 60 miles to get to their place of employment. And conversely, people can come into your county, into your town from 30, 40, 60 miles away. So it's really important that the group of communities together knows about each other. It's important to know the strengths. It's important to know how they complement each other. And we have exactly the right thing for you to consider based on all of the experience that we have for how communities can get along and how you can grow your economic opportunities and business development with our process.
So take your commuting distances, take your workforce. Where does your workforce live? Do you know where your workforce lives? And if you have done a labor shed study of where your workforce comes from, you will know the communities involved that you need to keep strengthened. Your workforce will only be as strong as the communities they live in. Because if those communities aren't strong and aren't growing, then your workforce is not going to be staying around. Your workforce is going to be looking for someplace else to live, someplace else to go. And so as your workforce then looks at their community, they need to be involved in their community, but you also need to be involved in their community by helping them. So we have a process. We do a process called Community Builders. Community Builders is a time-tested, field-tested research process that we do that brings together your community, your region as one community. It gets people thinking in the same direction, on the same page, intentionally to create an economic vision, an entrepreneurial wealth vision, a collaborative vision for what your region should be. Okay, and so that helps you create a family-friendly, youth-centered place. If you are to build your Main Street, if you are to build your retail sector, if you are to build your workforce, if you are to build your entrepreneurial wealth economy, then you need to figure out what your region is, and you need to figure out intentionally how to grow that region, just as if you would concentrate on your own community, that silo in there. So you might have 8 to 10 different communities within your economic region. You need to understand, you need to get to know them. You need to build a culture of acceptance within your communities. Now, what happens is that over the course of time, which we have talked about on this show over and over and over again, because that's how you build culture, is over the course of time, you might have closed a school. You might have 150 years ago, you might have stole a county charter from another community. And so the history of that community and the history of what has been done in that community, or communities that have done each other, all right, have a memory. It's just like if somebody has done you wrong, you have a memory. So you have a feeling towards that person. Your community has a feeling towards this other community. That's what we call marginalization. You have relegated that to a position intentionally because of your thought process. You have said, okay, we have the school in our community, so that community might not be as important. We have to keep our school strong, so we concentrate on the community that the school is in. But what about where the school used to be? That community now is looking at you about as, well, for lack of a better term, you're the enemy, all right? Because you stole the school, you closed the school, and you get everything. You're the big bully on the block. That's what a lot of the small towns are talking about their county seat government. You are the bully on the block. And so this process then takes that feeling, if you will, and brings everybody together. It's just like if you want to build a relationship with a person, you sit down and you talk to them, you get to know them, right? So this process, you get down with that community, get to know that community. You know what's in that community. So then you become familiar with the people, and it's not the community that you're the enemy of, because you know people there, right? So since you know people there, you start to build that relationship. So our process goes like this. You build a community team, and you identify your region. So you identify a diverse group of people. You identify a diverse group of communities. You identify those communities within your sphere of influence that you want to bring in. Our suggestion is you get maybe 6 to 8 communities as you start out, right? Any more than that in the first couple of years, and it becomes a little bit unmanageable. So each of those communities then has a community team, and each of the community teams then concentrates on their own community first and identifies every single business that you have in your community. Why do you do that? Is because you need to know where your community economy is coming from. You need to know what businesses you have. You need to know what entrepreneurs you have. You need to know who's doing business in their home, and you need to know where your hidden economy is coming from, because then you can build that directory, and we'll reveal the reason why you want to build that directory here in just a few moments.
So what you do then is you get your people together. We have a step-by-step process. This takes place in the Midwest, any place. It takes place in the warmer months, because especially on days like today, it is below zero, and it would just not be fun to be outside to go visiting anybody. So we get together once a month or a little bit more, depending on how many communities are taking part in this program in our process of community builders. And we get people together, and we try to engage, try to involve, try to invite new people, diverse people. This is, it's really super fun. So I'll just start out with that. But we try to get new people together, and especially as you continue year after year after year, as you do this process with different people, so that you're working on your culture, you're working on your mindset, you're working on involving new people so that they feel that their voices do matter, that their ideas matter, that their presence matters, that they have contributions to make. You listen to your community. You get people together, broad-based groups. They meet regularly. We meet monthly, and we have a number of activities that we walk you through each month in different communities. So there's a set pattern. We have an entire program laid out to make that happen.
So what you're really doing is becoming familiar with other communities within that. So what happens is that when other people look at your community in a different way, they see things that you don't, because you live in your community on a daily basis. So you're really unveiling somebody else's perspective, somebody else's perception of your community. And with that, then you start to get a compelling vision. So you do community tours, you make sure you serve food, and you have an educational process also at the end of that. And what happens then is this region starts to come together, it starts to coalesce. After about the third or fourth meeting, you will find people that will start to interact amongst the communities. Now, you'll be pretty siloed for the first couple of meetings. Your community will sit together, and it'll be community by community, and you'll be looking around the room going, this is not working. Give it some time as people start to build those relationships.
Yes.
You might what?
Well, yes, you might start out singularly, because you may recognize some people from other communities, and just, be able to kind of wave, but we tend to group ourselves at our own tables. But Frank is exactly right. By the time that you have a meeting or two during this process, that you start to just gather with other people, because you're starting to build relationships with them. And we encourage that, because that's how you're going to learn. That's how you're going to improve your own community and the region, so that everybody gets together and we combine and put together new ideas in new ways that benefit the whole. So with the food part of each monthly meeting, we encourage local foods. We encourage people to use local vendors, and that helps to raise incomes as well. There's all kinds of fun to put together these individual meetings where, once you kind of know what to do, then you try to figure out how the next group, the next town, does something that just shines even brighter. And then it becomes sort of like a little mini competition, and it is just super fun as you go throughout the months and learn about different aspects of the communities. And what is really revealing is people who have grown up, lifelong residents of these communities, will find things in the community that they never even knew existed. You think you know a town, our process helps you find out new things that you just had no idea were right under your nose.
So we have been doing this since the early 90s at communities and regions across the nation, actually, of that. So what are some of the outcomes that some regions and some community builder processes have found? Well, in one region, the 5-county area, they, over the course of 3 years, because they kept doing it, they kept building those relationships, they created 250 jobs. And those jobs then were in the region. It wasn't we recruited a business that created those jobs. It was we created the income opportunities for those jobs to be created. Also, you might want to just think about a smaller community. What's the impact on a smaller community? Well, one community, or many of the communities, I should say, they developed a community club. Never had it, never organized that. And so they developed a community club to change the image of their community. It could be to plant, it could be to build up their city park, it could be to build and refurbish a gazebo, but it created a sense of pride. They also then built a brand new library within their community because of the momentum that they had. New people are finding to run for offices. We are finding new leaders. You uncover new leaders. You uncover the talents of people that are interested, but they might not have the know-how, they might not have the motivation, and they might not have the push, really, to become that next step leader, or even the permission to become that next step leader. And that's this gives them the permission to step up, because they've been in the background all the time, wanting to be a leader, but not knowing how to be a leader, and not given the chance to be a leader. So this is really uncovering new leadership within your community, which uncovers new volunteer within your community. Our county government and our city government have, in some of these areas, got together on a consistent basis, sat down and talked about common issues, talked about those issues that they thought they were the only ones that had, but discovered that most of the communities within that region have that. And so then they get together and they share equipment, they share experiences, they share stories with that. But more importantly, is they build relationships amongst each other that they can pick up the phone and say, you know, I'm having this problem. In some of those areas, we had a mayor call another mayor in another county, and that one mayor just said, I would have never thought to call a mayor in a community that I didn't like, well, I thought I didn't like, until we built this process with them. So it does really build that. Also, what has really happened is you have built a economy within that community, because businesses find other businesses to do businesses with. Before then, during the early part of the show, I said you need to build that business directory. That is for other businesses to know what other businesses do within your community, so you can look at your business and look at suppliers of businesses that might be able to supply equipment, might be able to supply supplies to a business that's already doing that. So instead of going outside of your region to order your supplies, you are actually ordering the supplies from within the region, creating wealth and not exporting your dollars, but turning your dollars over and more to become that economic development spin that you have, that you can build that wealth within there. So you're receiving benefits. Another example is that our region got together, and they built a $250,000 housing rehab program. They looked at their houses in their region, not just in their community, but in their region. And they said, okay, how many houses do we need to refurbish? Do we need to help repair? And in rural America, given the shortage of housing, this is an important aspect of it, is that the region got together, looked at their housing stock and said, we need to help. We need to do something. So they got together and they got a $250,000 housing rehab program going, and helped refurbish 12 houses within the region. Those 12 houses then could supply other families. They could help other families live there, but it did boost up the housing inventory.
Other things that have taken place in communities is to raise school awareness. What's going on with different places? What's happening in the different school districts? Often a county has 2, 3, 4 or more school districts. And so to know what's happening in those other school districts, school mergers and consolidations are really, really tough on communities. So our intent is to help you keep your community strong so that your school district stays in place. Other things that have happened are saving a grocery store. We've done that in a couple of communities where people have gotten together. Communities have saved their restaurants. It's tough to make it in a small town with a restaurant. We have helped childcare facilities remain in communities. So that keeps your families in town rather than placing their children in another community where there is a childcare center or a different home provider where that family, where the parents work. It's important to keep those kids in town because that's where the dollars go when they get to school. And we need to keep those dollars from state funds coming in, flowing in to keep our school districts strong.
So even if you are doing the traditional economic development and recruiting the company, they need a strong workforce. They are looking for your labor shed. They are looking for the strong schools. They are looking for a strong region. They're not looking at just your community. They are looking at where is their labor going to be coming from. That's why you need that strong region. And this is just a process that you can use to build that strong region. So tomorrow we're going to be talking about how to build entrepreneurship in your youth, with your youth, that you're not going to be exporting your youth anymore. You're not going to be losing your risk takers. You will be helping maintain your youth within your community through entrepreneurial practices that you can start you can start within your school system. So we'll be talking about that process on entrepreneurship, because next week is National Entrepreneurship Week, and we're going to be talking about groups and organizations about what they're doing about entrepreneurship. We're going to be talking to entrepreneurs about what they're learning about entrepreneurship. We're going to be talking to some organizations that support entrepreneurship, and then we'll be talking to organizations about what are they hearing from entrepreneurs with what entrepreneurs need within their community. So stay with us. We're here Monday through Friday, 10:30, 11:30 a.m. Central Time every day, Monday through Friday, right here at Rural Community Solutions TV live stream on our YouTube channel, Rural Community Solutions on our Facebook page, or you can go to anchor.fm/Frank Spillers to get the podcast of our show for the day. That podcast will be up within about 15-20 minutes after the show ends. And look for Think Like an Entrepreneur and Become a Spark Plug.
We thank you for joining us wherever you are to watch or to listen. Hope you have a great week. Make great healthy choices and be warm.
So we will see you tomorrow. Same time, same station, same bat station.
Take care.
Bye.